Welcome to Early Watch. I am your host, Dead Horse, and we have our other host, Tony, and a special guest host today, John. How you guys doing this morning?
You're the guest, John. Go first.
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invite. I won't be able to stay long, but I'm glad to be here for as long as I can.
We appreciate having you. Thank you for joining us this morning. How have
Thank
you
you.
been, Tony?
Aside from trying to lose my voice and find it, I'm all right. I got nothing to gripe about.
Did you enjoy your day off yesterday? Our day off from the early watch right now?
I worked in the garage, cleaned it up so I could put the truck in here and walk by it.
Well, that's awesome. At least it sounds like you got some work done.
Yeah, actually, I got more done than I expected to. Went way better than I was planning.
That never sounds like it's that much of a bad thing. So, other than the actual working and being tired and sore and stuff part afterwards, but it sure is a good sense of accomplishment when you look around and stuff's nice and clean and picked up and organized. And
I
it's just,
wouldn't go that far. It was just
for
piled
me,
out
it
of the
just doesn't
way.
last. I can get it like that, but it's just hard to keep it like that.
I found it probably, I don't know, gallon, cubic foot, or whatever the hell you want to say, of gravel where mouse have dug up out of my floor because my floor is in three sections here. And I thought, well, this would be a good job for the vacuum cleaner. And I'll be damned if that thing did not pick up the gravel. There was rocks in that were probably size of a quarter in diameter, at least.
Dang. I don't know if my I don't know if my shop vac would pick that up.
I remember years ago, I had to help a friend dig up his floor because he was redoing his house. We dug up his floor, all the old wood planks, because this was a house maybe 90 to 100 years old. And and we didn't find gravel or rocks or anything like that because this obviously was inside, but we did find a lot of ammunition, all kinds, as well as silver coins.
Surprised that the cops didn't zoom in there and cordon off the place for a big cache of ammunition.
I know.
I have found some old ammunition boxes from like the 40s and 50s in houses, and their ductwork for some reason. People stash. That's a real common hiding spot is in the vents
Yes.
Empty
and
boxes are full.
full. I like old like 3220 cartridges and 38 specials and 45 long Colts, and even in like nice kind of leather pouches. Even though the leather got really dried out and cracked and split open because of just heating and cooling and stuff over the years. And I'm not sure how good the ammunition worked because usually most of the time the homeowners were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to keep this" and stuff. But sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, just throw that stuff away," and then I'd get to keep it. But some of the old boxes that we'd found, like the old cardboard boxes, were pretty neat. But
Yeah,
you'd be surprised at how like common your heating and cooling ducts are for stash spots.
I hang on to that 3220 if you still got it. When I had one, it was hard to get ammo for.
Oh yes, they are. Oh
I'll tell
gee,
you one thing, it was a good day when I ripping up that floor. After that, I volunteered to help people out with their homes that were older, almost 100 years older. I volunteered for quite a few homes after that.
You saying I should go in and chainsaw out my floor while I got the saw running?
If nobody else has touched it till now and it's that old, yeah, I would say yes.
I don't know. I'll send the old lady under the house metal detector.
That works too. But yeah, he let me keep the ammo, which I ended up giving away to people who actually could use it. But the silver coins, I kept a lot of those, and I traded in a lot of those because just bills happen.
Yeah, they're pretty much not worth much except for their value in silver, unless it's a specific rare coin.
Well, there were quite a few of them. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, today I think
This couch I got in this garage, my wife bought it somewhere. All we won off of it's cushions for we got a futon. Mattress was bad, and we don't want another mattress on it because they suck. We're not using it as a bed, we're using it as a couch. This couch weighed more than I could lift the end of the damn thing. And, while I have heart problems, I'm still strong. And I'm like, I wonder if somebody's got, freaking bag of gold hidden in this son of a bitch or what. It's so friggin' heavy. Initially, I thought it was a fold out. I had a bed that folded out in it, but it's not. Took the cushions off and fit them on the futon, and the weight's all in the cushions. I don't know what the hell they got in there for padding or filling, but God, I can move the couch around now, no problem.
So are you guys ready to use your brains and 2A skills this morning?
No.
No.
I'll take Tony's lead.
Well, that's too bad, because I'm going to put you to the test right now. Not too hard of thinking, but so we always talk about talking to the, whether it's the arguments with the anti-gunners or people like on middle ground that are undecided. How about talking to people who are like, oh, I'm pro 2A, I'm pro gun, but, right, that but that comes in there, that gets thrown in there, but, and then, what comes next? And how do we deal with people who claim they're pro gun? How do we talk to them without maybe in a way, because so they're already starting out claiming to at least somewhat be on our side, that they believe in the Second Amendment and guns and owning guns, but they don't believe in suppressors, let's say, or whatever the various thing may be. Today we're going to focus on suppressors because I watched a conversation go down on Instagram between a real pro-gun 2A advocate and one of the butt people, right, that claim to be pro-gun about the silencer. So I think we've all seen the post going around. It's been posted on the NRA social media page and a ton of different social media page showing the decibel level of a suppressor compared to to a suppressor on a firearm, compared to a lawnmower or a chainsaw, to a jet airplane, a jackhammer, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
And kind of busting the myth that they're not as silent as movies make them appear to be. So this is a conversation that went down. So I'm only going to read the butt person's comments. I'm not going to read the replies to that were given to him, because honestly, a lot of the replies I think were out of hand, and they were belittling and degrading, and I think that's just going to chase the person away. I think that's just going to chase the person away from our community and almost turn him against us when he feels like he's being attacked. I want to come at it from a reasonable, articulable position and try. I'm not saying that you can always succeed doing this, but try using logic, statistics, or whatever you have in your arsenal other than insults to try and change this person's mind.
Well, to step in right here, I would only have one argument. It's kind of bit thin because I'm in a state where I can't have a damn suppressor. But my argument would be, do you believe in hearing protection? Because they're just another layer of that.
And that is a very good argument. So there's 4 comments here that this butt person posted. And again, I'm only going to be reading his comments. So we'll go one by one, and we'll come up with a, like I said, a reasonable, articulable comment to leave back to him, without degrading him, without trying to chase him off or belittling him. So here's his first comment. So again, remember what post this is about. So are you denying that they are used for murder and silent killings, that's outside the realm of standing up to the government.
They're
So
not silent, so they're not used in silent killings.
So Tony, so you're instantly going to go to a fact that they're not movie silent, that's a myth, and
Right.
you can still even suffer hearing damage with a suppressor,
The
correct?
simple fact is that the guy who's in charge of the shot spotter program that's used in cities to pinpoint gunshots says that they can pinpoint silenced gunshots.
Very, very good fact. John, do you have a rebuttal to this statement he made?
I have had many of these conversations living where I am with people, and instead of going and throwing facts at people, I try to go with sort of like a question format in response to their but. So if someone says, "Oh, you don't need a suppressor; it's used for bank robbers," it's
Well,
used
no,
for
we want to address this very specific comment right here that they are used for murder and silent killings.
well, then I would ask them, "Do you honestly believe everything you see in the movies?"
So you're going to respond to him with a with a question.
Correct.
Tony's going to respond to him with an actual fact that even those sound systems can still pinpoint a, uh, a suppressor shot in those cities.
Correct.
Okay, very, very good arguments there. The next comment was actually just him saying yes. You may need 30 round mags. So that's really nothing to rebuttal there. So he's agreeing that like 30 round mags are basically in this talk that 30 round mags are, something he believes that people should be able to own. So he's not against high capacity mags or
Okay.
standard capacity. So here's his next comment. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. I just don't think you need suppressors to fight a tyrannical government. And this is talking about the basis of the 2A in case your government turns against you or whatnot to do that. And he's going on the fact that the 2A doesn't basically guarantee the right to have silencers. That's not part of 2A.
Well,
That's not part of our Second Amendment that guarantees the right to silencers. He believes that they guarantee the right to firearms, but not the silencers.
the simple fact is the Second Amendment is not solely about fighting the tyrannical government. And you should be able to have any weaponry that's available to you, or any components to weaponry.
Or maybe equal to the military, right?
Right. You should equal or greater than the military. That is really the intent of the Second Amendment. As far as the suppressors go, they really don't do what they're accused of doing. They do not.
Because we've all heard. No, they don't, and we've all heard this argument though before, or at least this answer that, oh, the point of the 2A is to either resist a tyrannical government or prevent a tyrannical government, and like we've heard, I don't know how many times in these chats I've heard like that be like a main bulletin point, like, oh, the Second Amendment's not about hunting, the Second Amendment's not about this, the Second Amendment's to prevent our government turning on us and
Right.
to keep our government in check, right? And that's like been a main point. And he's saying,
it is the point.
but it's just a part of it, right? Is what you're saying?
Right. It is the key that got the Second Amendment written, because they had just threw off the shackles of a tyrannical government. But it's not the only point. And
do you think our founding fathers were intelligent enough and aware enough back then, over 250 years ago to know, gee, it's like for hunting, for sporting purposes. Because like, did they even have hunting back then? Did they even have like sport shooting at all? Was that even a thing?
Wherever there was two guys with an object, they compete with it. So I would say so.
They may not have had the quite the labeling, but those activities went on.
However, what they did have in that time period, and I'm not sure exactly when, so you know, don't throw me under the bus if I'm slightly off on this one. They did have air guns back then.
Lewis and Clark had an air gun, yeah.
Yes.
That's correct.
So the whole sound thing, they were aware of that sort of thing back then. But why not? If you have to uprise against your tyrannical government, why would you want to hamper yourself in any way?
Do you think our founding fathers were aware of weapons like bows and arrows or trebuchets and stuff like that are pretty silent?
Well,
Absolutely.
Throwing projectiles and stuff, and maybe have been aware, like, oh, maybe one day they'll be able to make these, flintlocks and stuff quieter.
I would say that they were probably smarter than that. I'm sure that somebody like Franklin would have had enough brain power to consider, the thought of muffling gunshot somehow. Now, whether he actually ever thought about it or not, who's to say? But he was smart enough.
Almost
Hey
definitely.
guys, I'm gonna have to bounce because I got to get to this appointment. But I just want to say one thing as far as the response I would give this person with the sound of the suppressor or noise reductor or whatever they want to call it next week. And I would just ask the person, do you honestly think that if your best friend after 30 years that you don't think would hurt a fly got a hold of a suppressor for his firearm that he wants to take to the range, do you all of a sudden think it will make him a ninja assassin?
Very good point.
Because nothing the people is gonna change just because they get their hands on stuff that they want to use, whether it's for self-protection or whether it's for uh, just for fun. Those people are not going to change. The item itself does not make the person evil. It's the person that's evil. And when it comes to suppressors, knives, carbs, bombs, whatever you want to call it, it's a thing. If I take a water gun and tape it to you, do you think it's really going to change your personality and make you want to go out and just commit mass suicide on a group of people? No, it won't. So what on earth could possibly make you think that an object that has no forethought of its own, uh, or anything that it could even be related to any kind of human response or emotion, could honestly make you think it's going to make somebody turn bad? That badness is in people already.
Way to hammer your effective argument right there at the end, John.
Well, I'm sorry, but you can question certain things only so much until you realize that it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes.
Well, I think my response would be fairly straightforward. If anything gave you an advantage in the fight over a tyrannical government, why the hell wouldn't you want it?
Exactly. That's a very, very good point too. His
On that note, I'm gonna have to bounce. Thanks for the invite. I'll try to hop on if it doesn't take too long.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Good luck,
All right,
John.
I'll talk to you guys
Thank
later.
you,
Thanks a
John,
lot.
and keep us updated.
You got it. Will do. Have a good day, everyone.
Yes, sir. All right, Tony. So this one's all you. So I guess you think that people should be able to have RPGs and cruise missiles also.
Well,
So he's making the jump from, because we think a person should be able to have suppressors that they should that we automatically want people to have that we think people should have RPGs and cruise missiles.
me personally, I do think that. I think you should be able to have whatever the heck you want.
If you can afford probably what I'm guessing a cruise missile's probably in the millions of dollar range a piece. I'm guessing. Those cruise missiles. Here. Well, let's. I guess we can Google this. So cruise missile cost. Right. That's a simple Google. 1.4 million. So, um, so if you can afford 1.4 million for a cruise missile, and that's probably a bulk price that they get them for, because I'm sure they're buying them in bulk, right? So if you're just buying one, it's probably going to be a lot more than that. But yeah, I guess if you can afford it,
I mean, the second says keep and bear. So if you can whoop a cruise missile into a holster and carry it, I'm all for it.
What about the RPG? So that's a common battlefield use weapon that someone could more realistically probably get their hands on than a cruise missile. So maybe just what do you think just about the RPGs?
Honestly, I'm going to go to the same thing with the silencer. I mean, you know, if you got to fight your tyrannical government, why not?
And see, I like the way that you're thinking, Tony, because you're sticking with directly against his argument that like, oh, I believe in 2A because it's to fight a tyrannical government, and so you're sticking to that same point, and using it against him. I like that logic.
Well, that's what it is it's debate logic.
So, I agree with I agree with both of you guys. I agree with you, Tony, 100%. Um, and it's a shame that a lot of the comments I saw were just berating and just insulting and stuff. And I don't think that's going to teach this guy anything. I don't think calling him a FUD or a fake 2A guy or just blatant name calling, I don't think it's going to win this guy over or educate him. I think it's going to push him away from us. And that what we want to keep doing is, do we want to educate these people with logic and reason? And granted, we're not going to be able to reach everyone. Like I think we all know that there's going to be certain people we can never reach. But does that mean that we just blatantly start pushing everyone away? Or should we maybe try to invest the time to come at these with logical approaches, logical arguments? So I'm going to put it out there that if anyone comes across one of these butt people, or maybe even someone in the middle ground, and they're making some arguments online, social media, stuff like that, maybe you don't know where to start an argument of your own against that. Feel free to send that into the earlywatchil@gmail.com and send a link to that post or post that their question or their answer, so we can help you guys debate this. And we're definitely not perfect at this, and but I think when we all come together as a community, I think we'd be able to make very logical, valid points and arguments to help make some of these butt and middle ground people see our side. I support the Second Amendment, and I think we need to stop that. And we're not going to stop it by just name calling and blatantly just really insulting these people. I think we're going to have to take a different approach, especially with the 2020 election coming up. I think that we really need to get divided as a community. So I think we need to help each other with these logical, valid arguments and data points, and to help each other out, debate these butt and middle ground people. What do you think about that idea, Tony?
I have bitched about us being divided for ever since I've been on gun channels.
Yes, sir. I mean you both. I mean
I
you
have
both.
never understood that. You know, and I come at this from kind of an odd perspective because my gun taste is straight up bud. I don't like the quote unquote modern assault rifles. Don't like how they look. I don't ever care to own one. Uh, but I firmly believe that you should have one if you want it.
And that is absolutely awesome, and that's what we want. I mean, that's what we want from people. Like we want to be okay with people not wanting Glocks or AR-15s or whatever if that's their choice. But we want them to be friendly enough to be like, oh, if you want that and it serves a purpose for you, yes, please have it.
As far as arguing some of their points, some points you're not going to win with them on. They're just not going to buy it.
Oh no, of
Sure.
course not. You know, and that's maybe where we can help each other as a community on what points seem to work. What are, whether it's actual facts, logic, reason, deduction, whatever we have in our toolboxes. And some of us are much better at this. I know I'm not very good at this at all, and that's why I kind of threw you and John under the bus today about this, is because I think you guys would be able to make a lot more logical, valid points than I would be able to. But I think if we come together as a community and we're sharing these ideas, I think we could potentially, have a basis, maybe even have a place to go like gunchannels.com to, and throw up a page there and lay down these data points to commonly butt, questions and answers. And go basically scroll through a list of data points and in response to different questions. I think that would be a great database to have at our disposal, because I think a lot of people out there are probably in the same boat I am, that have maybe a little trouble putting together, logical data points when you just want to when you just want to go off on the guy, right? Or just call him, tell him just how dumb he's being, basically. And but I think that's a bad idea. I don't think we should be doing that right now, or at all. Period. I think we should really hit them with the logic, the facts, and try and sway. At least put in the effort to sway them to our side. And if we put in some effort and they still don't want to go, and they still don't want to hear it, we're gonna always have people like that. But I do see a lot of people changing their minds on things. So
The whole modern sporting rifle part of it is a little easier to argue because, if they go with the whole you don't need weapons of war crap, every gun was at one point in its history a weapon of war. If you let them win on this one, are you going to let them win on the next one when they come to get it? Because they're coming to get them all if they can.
So, Gun Loving Grandpa out there says it's all about education, but the people on YouTube need the education, and I would definitely agree with that. But I think it's the whole 2A community. We need the education.
As far as the Fed side goes, what they really need is their eyes open, because they just are not looking at the whole picture.
Do you think they're not looking at the whole picture because none of this is directly affecting them yet?
Yes, I know this because I was in that boat when the 94 thing came around. And I was not looking at the long game at all. And as age and life have crushed me, wisdom has came on that front. After seeing stuff going down, you realize that they ain't trying to protect nobody but themselves.
And I'd like to throw out a quote here from Alan Watts. You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. So I really like that quote. It's actually one of my favorite quotes. Because I mean, we're human beings. We change our minds. I don't know how many times I've come into these chats with a certain opinion or thought I had a certain fact about something, and then I've had my mind changed through logic and deduction and reason, and not with berating or um, derogatory remarks, but literally with great people in these chats putting up good logical arguments against my standing point, and and not forcing me to change my mind, but making myself come to that same conclusion that, you know what, like maybe I'm wrong. I didn't look at it from that point. I didn't look at it from that side. And I walked away from that conversation believing something completely different than when I went into it. And some of those conversations were 5 minutes long, like it did. Some of those didn't take hours for that to happen. And, so I've definitely had it happen to me in these chats, and then just talking to people in life in general. I don't know how many times you guys have had your minds changed by someone else in life, but I know I've had it happen to me. So I really like that quote.
I wish I could pinpoint one thing that changed my mind, but I can't, because I don't think it was one thing. It was more of a, the kind of circular logic in the way my mind works on things, coming to the conclusion that, any gun is a good gun. There's no good or bad to guns themselves. And part of it, the FUD side of it is part of it. There was an actual, God, how do I say this without sounding weird? There was an actual tactile relationship with guns. I mean, not only did you love the gun, but you loved the way it feels in your hand. And, certain guns inspire that way more than others. And that's part of the reason why I like what I like in guns. I like the way a nice bolt action feels in my hand. But
I agree with that. I like a lot of different guns that would be considered FUD guns. A lot of people think that I'm just a AR guy or a Glock guy or 1911 guy, but I mean, I have a lot of single action revolvers, double action revolvers, lever actions, bolt actions. I mean, those were some of the first guns I ever started shooting. Way before I got an AR, some of the first gun I ever bought was a bolt action. First gun I was ever given to me as a little kid was a bolt action. So I grew up, shooting guns and buying and owning guns that a lot of people would be like, oh, if they just saw one of my safes, if I just opened up one particular safe, I think everyone would say like, oh, this guy's a FUD. All he has is shotguns, bolt actions, lever actions. Like, this guy's a FUD, until I started opening up more safes. But so I could easily be classed in that same category. It just so happens I happen to be like a gun collector, so I'm into a lot of various things. Hey, David, thank you for joining.
Morning, David.
Good morning, gentlemen. How is everybody today?
Great. Did you happen to catch our first part of the show?
No, I just now was able to get online.
You got a minute for me to throw you under the bus?
Here, I was going to say, here comes the bus.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yes, sir. So I came across a but person, one of the people that are like, oh, I believe in the Second Amendment, and it so happened to do with a argument on someone's social media about suppressors. And this person, basically, the short version is he basically believes that, we should be able to have guns, and he's a Second Amendment supporter. and that we should be able to have guns because the Second Amendment is to prevent a tyrannical government or to fight a tyrannical government. That's his standing point. And but he's against suppressors. He doesn't believe the Second Amendment protects suppressors. He doesn't believe the Second Amendment guarantees that people can own suppressors. And so he's against suppressors. And a lot of people were just, instead of trying to come at him with logic and facts and change someone's mind who's partly on our side, they were coming at him with insults and derogatory remarks, and I feel basically pushing this guy away and probably making him say, like, man, like, why do I even want to be a part of this community or whatever? Or it's probably even justifying his point, like, oh man, these guys are crazy. These guys are, off their rocker, some of the remarks I read. So I'm going to read you a couple of his rebuttals. I'm only going to read his. I'm not going to read what he was rebuttaling to and the remarks that were said. And I just want to know, how would you come at this guy and his argument from the perspective I described? How would you come at it in a logical, or how would you rebuttal his argument in a logical way without insults and derogatory remarks? So the first one is basically these are used to murder and silent killings. Like, are you denying that they're used for murder and silent killings? That's outside the realm of standing up to the government. So he believes that suppressors are used by people to commit crimes and to murder and silent killing people. He believes that's the point of the suppressor.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a viable argument, and I understand the argument that he's making, but the suppressor doesn't really make it silent at all. And the very, very few times that somebody's used a suppressor to kill somebody, those were probably targeted killings by some type of contractor. Your average Baltimore City, 5 people were shot the other day. None of those people cared about how loud their gun was when it went off.
Now, that's a very good point. So I'm going to play devil's advocate from his point of view. So that's not true. I've seen tons of movies. They're absolutely silent, and I have seen facts published by the FBI saying that suppressors are used in, on average, 40 crimes per year.
Okay, there's more than 40 crimes per weekend in Baltimore City. And unfortunately, if you're going to go by what you saw in a movie, then you would have to assume that foxes can fly spaceships.
I'm too on that same thing. Do you, Mr. Fudd, consider America to be freer than Europe? And if you do, realize that they can buy silencers over the counter in Europe.
Well, now this is the second point here. So I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. I just don't think you need suppressors to fight a tyrannical government.
Okay, well then what I would suggest...
The Second Amendment's all about fighting a tyrannical government in case they try and abuse us. And why do you need a suppressor to do that? The Second Amendment doesn't say you can have suppressors. It says arms. It doesn't mention suppressors or talks about our guns being silent. It doesn't guarantee that right. Why would you need it to fight a tyrannical government?
Well, the Second Amendment's not just about a tyrannical government. So, I mean, that's one thing, is you try to have to do your best to explain exactly what the Second Amendment does. I'm in a conversation with somebody on the internet now that's totally against the Second Amendment. They want to see it completely repealed, and they don't even live in America. And I've been talking to the person for 3 months now, and it's been a very cordial conversation. No insults going back and forth. We're starting to kind of get into the mud, spinning tires because we're kind of saying the same thing over and over again. But there's really, I mean, your original point was how do you talk to somebody without insulting them? And you just talk to them like they're a regular human being.
Hey, on that particular point, I'm going to stick with my bit about if you are fighting the tyrannical government, why would you not want anything you could get to help you?
And I really like that point. I think that is a very, very valid argument. That if that's all you believe the Second Amendment is to prevent a tyrannical government, then why wouldn't you want every little advantage that you could have? So, David, so I guess in your mind, you believe that citizens should also have RPGs and cruise missiles. Then, since you want them to have suppressors, you think every citizen should just have an RPG and a cruise missile?
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
See, I ain't the only one.
But why? Like now, rebuttal this argument though. Like, give me some logic on why a person why you believe that.
Are any of the AR-15s in your safe guilty of committing a crime?
Negatory.
Have you committed a crime with any of the firearms in your possession?
Negative.
Okay, so if you've got a missile in your backyard and you haven't done anything wrong with it, should I take your missile away from you because I don't think you should have it?
I would hope not.
Now, my answer to that is if you do something wrong with that missile, yeah, forget it. We're just going to erase your social security number because nothing you own we're going to destroy your entire life if you commit a crime with that missile. We're going to impound your house. We're going to put you in prison for the rest of your life. Anything that you've got, period, down to your socks, we're going to sell them. So you're going to sit in jail for the rest of your life with one jumpsuit on. I don't care what happens to your wife and kids. You shouldn't have committed a crime with that missile. But when, believe me, I understand the guy was joking. I didn't take it as crazy as everybody else did. But when Swalwell said we got nukes, yeah, that's the point. When somebody should have been able to say, yeah, so do we. But they can't. Now, when they say we got cruise missiles, Dead Horse should be able to say, yeah, so do I.
Again,
I wish I had the 1.4 million it takes to buy one.
as with the suppressors, if you're fighting a tyrannical government, why would you not want a missile or 2,000? I mean, that whole saying that, it's not for fighting a tyrannical government is really silly because, God, you would want every freaking possibility to win.
Well, you also have to put it into perspective as well, which I think a lot of people miss. If the United States government went rogue, the last thing they're going to want to do is destroy New York City, destroy Chicago, destroy Detroit, because then they have to build it over again. And that takes time, money, and effort. So the realistic chances of them, if the government is shooting missiles at us, it's way beyond caring what's legal or not. Because you think about it, if you want to take your neighbor's house, you don't go burn it down because you want the property, you want the spoils of war, I guess you would say. So them actually shooting missiles at us is probably going to be a serious issue, which is then why you definitely want missiles of your own, because all law and order has broken down at that time. But then when you take it back to like the reality of it, once again, they don't want to destroy their cities, but they will bring a few Humvees through. They will bring some MRAPs through. They will bring M16s and, all kinds of other sophisticated firearms. And if you can't fight back, well, you're as good as done.
Much like we saw in Venezuela, right? People being ran over by MRAPs. If they would have had their own MRAPs out there protesting, I don't think their government would have been able to run over all those innocent people with theirs.
I just watched a video yesterday on YouTube that basically was who would win a civil war or who has the greatest advantage. And it clearly indicated that the pro-gun side has the advantage because there's going to be limitations to what our government is going to be willing to do on the world stage. Now, this is assuming that the whole world hasn't went to shit. But, the government is not going to nuke us, no matter what that idiot says, because...
At least not intentionally.
Right, yeah, that's a crime against humanity that there's no way they can put across on the world stage.
I would see a bunch of white hats landing from the UN if something like that ever did happen.
There ain't that many. This article went into all of that. There's not that many UN people, and they could not pull everybody off what they're doing around the rest of the world.
No, I mean stepping in against our own government. If our own government nuked us, I think the UN would join the fight against them.
Well, they said that's part of what this whole video is about. They said there just isn't that many.
Its own citizens, any countries around the world would come to their aid.
There's not the manpower to do it. The only country that has that kind of manpower is China. And they are not equipped for that kind of incursion. In other words, they can't get here. It was an interesting video. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just pointing out, but look it up and watch it. I can't sit through something like that. It's, just breaking down statistics, but it surprised me how interesting it was. And it just laid out, all the bullet points of, who would had the advantage in whatever situation, because the police and military, they said in the military, they figured that well over half would go home as opposed to following orders to attack American citizens. So ex-military, most of them are pro 2A. So, they can quickly teach people who are not skilled and are trained in fighting to do so. I'm telling you, and I wish I'd have kept a link to it. I may get a link and post it. It was enlightening to watch.
Very great arguments, guys, and I'll put that out there one more time. So if you come across a butt person, you come across one of these middle ground people, and they're saying like, "Oh, I believe in the Second Amendment," but, and you're seeing them be rated on the social media and just called names and being made fun of, I don't think these people are already partly on our side. They already got 1 foot over the fence. I don't think ostracizing them is going to necessarily bring them over to our side. I think it's more likely to push them back on the other side of the fence. And I don't think we want that. And again, I don't think we can reach all people, but I think we could make a very small try with a rational, logical argument without getting into, verbal abuse and things of that nature. And so if you come across one of these people and you want help putting together a logical, rational argument against one of these people, feel free to send that post or that link over to earlywatchil@gmail.com, and we'll definitely talk about it and on the show and brainstorm and try and put together some rational, logical arguments to help you use to sway these people to see the light.
All right.
And don't worry about getting caught up in statistics. You know, if you don't know how many handguns were used in carjackings in 2018, don't talk about that. You know, because you can get your point across with common knowledge and common logic if you don't have every single number and detail and placement of comma in the last report that was written.
And a
I
lot of
will.
these statistics have muddy water involved in them. So using statistics necessarily from the FBI or EDC or something like that isn't always a good thing. That doesn't always work in our favor.
I seen this last mass murder where the guy was carrying a 45 with a silencer. I seen an interview with the guy uh, right after it happened. I mean, I think the same day. And he said something to the effect that he heard the gunshots and he ran. Then
Yep.
a
They heard
couple,
the first gunshots. The very first person that was outside in a vehicle that was shot. The people inside the building heard those shots.
the
So,
very, the next day, the same guy on the interview said he heard something and didn't know what it was. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I believe that there's some narrative being directed in the reporting of this crap too. And if you're willing to look, you can find this.
and and I think that's more known nowadays too with the whole fake media thing, and we've all seen the videos of like David Hogg sitting there and rewording his story over and over and over again till it sounded just right for the media, and I think that is a real thing, and so I definitely agree with you there. Thank you guys for letting me throw you under the bus on that, and I know it's not easy just being put on the spot like that, but I think it's important because we never know when we're gonna, run into these people in real life or on social media or even, a friend or family member. I mean, and I don't think like if you had maybe like your brother or sister or mom or something, is if they came at you with one of these arguments, just like this guy, I don't think you're going to sit there and call her names and like some of the names that I saw on this post and berate her like that. I think you would try and come at her from a more logical approach and try and come with facts and stuff like that. So I think that's very important that we try and practice that, especially when I said when someone already has 1 foot over the fence, they're already halfway on our side. We just need to give them that little nudge, But if we just ostracize them, I think they're more likely to step back on the other side and say, you know what, like I guess what, now I'm against 30-round magazines too, and now I'm against this, and so we don't. That's part of the whole divide in the community that we've talked about here. Um, and I'll put that quote out there one more time. You're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. So I think that's very, very, very good thing to keep in mind.
And always keep in mind too that there are some you're not going to reach.
Oh yeah,
And so
most
don't
definitely.
don't let that discourage you.
And don't necessarily waste too much time on those people either. We're not, no one's saying like, hey, you need to invest days of your life into this or anything, or even necessarily hours. Like I mentioned earlier, I've had my mind changed in logical approaches and logical ways in these chats in 5 minutes. It can literally be that short a time, just one comment, one paragraph, one sentence. Sometimes it doesn't take very, very much to sway someone. Like I said, especially when they already have that 1 foot over the fence. I believe in the Second Amendment, but they're already halfway there. We just got to get rid of that but.
This
So,
Don't
particular topic has opened up something that I have went after pretty hard on the early watch before, and that's that when you're in these discussions with people, even if you're with somebody who you ain't ever going to change, other people that are watching this will make their views on what their views will be based on what they're seeing. So if you're being an ass to somebody, calling them names and whatnot, then who do you think they're going to think is the ass?
Exactly.
I say stay out of the fight. And what I mean by that is use the conversation, use the discussion, use the debate. Don't ever get into a fight because it's not going to turn out. If Dead Horse and I are arguing what's better, 223 or 556, and we just start arguing with each other and fighting, nothing's going to get solved. But if we continue to look at it as a debate, a conversation, back and forth, then some kind of ground could be made up somewhere along the lines,
You're
or
right.
we could find some type of other common ground somewhere else.
I would come in and say you're both clearly wrong because 30-06 is clearly the best.
I'd probably have to secede to that argument, Tony.
Yeah, we were wrong, Dead Horse.
No, but I really appreciate you guys helping me with that. I definitely got some good valid points now that I can go and hit this guy with in a logical, appropriate manner. And granted, he might just be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," and just walk away from the conversation. I don't know how he's going to respond, but I know one thing: it's not going to make me look like a jackass, and it's not gonna. And I'm not sitting there ostracizing somebody. I want to help this guy, I really do. That's why we're spending that. That's why I'm willing to spend the time and comment back to him, and try and provide him with a logical argument. So I really appreciate your guys' time on this. It has helped me immensely this morning. I've written down some very, very good arguing points here. Next thing I would like to bring up just real quick. I don't know if you guys heard about the off-duty Los Angeles County Sheriff that was shot in the head inside the Jack in Box in L.A. there.
I heard about that.
They did catch the guy who did it. He is behind bars. I am very, very happy to hear that. That guy's never going to hurt anyone again. He's going to end up being someone's girlfriend in prison by the looks of him. I'm very happy about that. And the last report I heard on that deputy is that he is still in critical condition, and that he was fighting. And I will post a link out there in the side chat if you want, or in the chat out there if you want to go and support him and his family. Give your thoughts and prayers. His name was his name is Joseph Solano. So please keep him in your thoughts and prayers today. His medical condition is actually listed as grave, and he is on life support. So he's still hanging in there. He's fighting, and this hero really deserves our honor and respect. So whatever you can do to support him over there, much greatly appreciated. Let's see here. The next thing that we have is this one's going a little bit off the 2A, but how do you guys feel about politicians and transparency and providing their tax returns? Do you think that when someone takes a position of public office that there should be more transparency in their income and their tax returns because they hold a public office? Or do you believe that they should still be able to enjoy the rights of a private citizen?
While they're a politician in public office, they should be showing their money.
David?
There's too much under the table money.
Yes, sir, there is.
That's the argument that's been made about Donald Trump. And I think that they should definitely disclose any kind of donations and stuff they get. But the one problem is politicians spend their entire lives padding their taxes. so they can go out in front of people and say, hey, look at my tax returns. Where if, my boss runs for president tomorrow, he's done his taxes as a regular everyday citizen his whole life, so they're going to thrash him for it.
You are right about that. Um, I've heard quotes from the governor of California, or I guess ex-governor now, Jerry Brown. Forcing a candidate to provide their taxes is a slippery slope, he said back in 2017. I also recently read that on average, politicians leave office with a net worth increase of over 400% on average from when they first go into office. So on average, if you become a politician and you hold a public office, you're on average your net, I'm sorry, not income, net worth, your net worth will increase 400% or more on average.
That in itself is exceptionally questionable.
That draws a red flag to me, and I kind of remember some things about checks and balances. And how can we have checks and balances without transparency? How do we know that these people aren't doing underhanded, shady deals and taking in money from people they shouldn't be? And without those checks and balances, without the transparency, there is no checks and balances.
Now, as far as candidates, I don't think a private citizen, even if they're running for office, should have to give out that information. But the time you're being paid by the government or
By the
citizens of
people.
the United States, yeah, it should be full disclosure on everything.
I definitely think if we had more transparency on our politicians, on the money that they have coming in, everything, and I agree with you 100%. If you're just a candidate running, I don't necessarily think that you should have to turn that in because, well, if you lose, well, you never became you never became a public official. Hence, you still retain those rights of a ordinary citizen and your right to privacy. I believe. I believe that the second you become a public official and you have the public's trust, that there does need to be a certain level of transparency. Should people know what you had for dinner that night? No, not necessarily. But I mean, as far as stuff like income, where you could abuse your power of office, I really do believe that stuff like that should be made public knowledge. 100% open transparency on every dime you have coming in if you hold any public office, everything from a mayor to governor to senator to the president of the United States.
And your friggin' bank accounts so that they can see if there's a huge disparity in what your taxes say and what your bank account says.
Oh, most definitely.
I don't know.
I do like the law that was proposed. I don't know if it passed or not, but it was definitely proposed that when you leave political life, you have to wait like 3 or 4 years or something like that before you can go into a lobbying firm. That's what a lot of politicians do. They make $170,000 a year for 20 years, and then they go make $7 million a year because of all their inside connections they made.
Oh, and they sit on boards of companies like Raytheon and Boeing and Lockheed Martin, and yeah, I know. I think a lot of us know that.
I have actually thought that lobbying should be a crime.
Well, I believe that that's one thing that AOC, the Alexandria Cortez chick, she actually agrees with Trump on, and she actually supports that politicians should not be able to lobby after they've held a public office. So she actually supports that. That's like the one thing I've ever heard her say. And I'm like, you know what? I'm down with that. I don't know why she's down with that and why she's okay with that. I really don't care, but that's one thing that lady actually has right. She actually supports Trump on that. That I found when I read that, I found that like this has to be a misprint.
Well, you know, I don't understand how we got to this point politically that uh, one side's all one way and the other side's all that way, and there's no common ground in the middle politically.
Yeah, I automatically assumed that no matter what Trump said, she was going to be against it. I just really thought that was the thing.
Back in the hell, even when Clinton was elected, we weren't super petrified about our 2A rights, which is how some of that shit slid by. But I mean, that wasn't a glaring beacon of warning just because he was a Democrat. Same thing with Jimmy Carter when he was elected. Of course, I was 76. I would have been 15 then, so I really wasn't politically aware. But, today it's, if they're a Democrat, they're absolutely anti-gun, and that's actually not the case.
No, I agree 100%. So the next thing I got here is a little PSA. So it's that time of year. Summer's rolling in. Bugs are everywhere. You guys got flies, spiders, mosquitoes, ticks, all
Buffalo
those
gnat,
nasty things.
the nastiest winged insect on planet Earth, buffalo gnat.
Buffalo gnat. What about you, David? You got these creepy, crawly, fly little monsters. They bugging you?
We got everything here.
So I came across an awesome post from some press suppress straps over on the Instagrams. I came up with a really good post, so I saved it. Thought I'd throw it out there. So these plants keep bugs away. So rosemary keeps fleas and ticks. Peppermint keeps spiders, mosquitoes, and ants. Catnip keeps all different types of mosquitoes. Lavender keeps moths, fleas, flies, and mosquitoes. Basil keeps away mosquitoes and houseflies. And marigold keeps away mosquitoes and aphids. So just some simple house plants can really help if you have a bug problem or bug issues, or if you live in like a heavy mosquito area or spiders, ticks, stuff like that. Some simple plants like that. I think that's we have these natural remedies. We don't necessarily have to be using all sorts of different spray and stuff like that. That is not only poisonous to our animals and stuff like that, but to us. And that's one thing I'm worried about, spraying spray around and having little dogs and stuff like that. So we can have some natural plants out there that that can really help with these insects that they just don't like the smell and they just don't like these things.
Two more to the list. The gnat problem is sort of workable with vanilla. They do not like vanilla, but it doesn't last long. Like if you have vanilla extract.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that too.
Spiders and I think ants, but I'm not going to swear to that, will be repulsed by hedge apples or the fruit of an Osage orange tree, whichever way you want to look at it. I know it works for spiders.
And that's absolutely awesome. I mean, I hate spiders. I do not like these things. I want to burn them all. And
you don't have to do anything but bring the thing in your house and put it somewhere discreetly out of sight. You don't have to cut it up or make any preparations or anything. Just the whole damn hedge apple.
And that's. What about you, David? Do you have anything out? Any tricks or tips to keep these creepy crawlers away from us?
No, not really. I do know that the fun little fact that really isn't relevant: no bugs or animals eat the tobacco plant. So, I mean, you could plant a bunch of tobacco plant around your house and you won't have any bugs, but then you probably get a visit from the ATF.
So Ozzy out there says that he did put a video up on his Facebook about a woman was breaking down the myth of suppressors. That might be a good video to go watch. I don't do the Facebooks. I only do the Instagrams. But feel free if you wanted to throw that link out there, Ozzy. Do that. Feel free to post that in the chat. Roosted out there says soapy water works on wasps, and spiders are awesome. Embrace them. I don't know, man. Like I don't know how big the spiders are you got, but the spiders I have over here, like I don't know, they're about the size of small cats.
I was
Now
gonna say,
that-
you have to watch the Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Now that Roosted brought it up, I was actually over at my parents' house the other day, and my mom was spraying soapy water and baking soda on her plants because she said that helps keeps the bugs from eating it.
Yeah, just some like Dawn dish soap, right? They just use a couple drops of Dawn dish soap and some water and just go around with the misting bottle. I haven't heard of the baking soda before, but I know my wife does like just the Dawn dish soap and some water. I'll have to tell her about the baking soda thing.
I
To add
think
that
that
to it.
the Dawn dish soap, vinegar, and water will work as a weed killer too. I don't know. I seen it. There's some way to make homemade weed killer that's way more safe than once you buy at the store. I'm pretty sure it was just water, dish soap, and vinegar. But if you got stubborn weeds, table salt will kill them. Rock salt. They don't like salt. I don't think you can just sprinkle salt on them because hell, you're just making salad then. But if you go around the base of the weed with salt and then wet it so it goes down into the ground, it'll kill plants or let it rain on them.
Well, and I don't have a green thumb whatsoever. I don't really mind like we get a lot of those like little roly polies we call them, or I guess potato bugs, right? We get a bunch of those, and bugs don't bother me. Like a wolf spider actually doesn't bother me. Like wolf spiders don't bother me at all. And big spiders like tarantulas, I used to have a rose hair tarantula. They don't bother me at all. We get a lot of black widows and just some brown recluses, like stuff that can really mess you up. I mean, so we have to be really careful. Um, I'm sure I know a lot of other places in the countries get these things, and so we have to be like really careful. And then we just get some really nasty looking like red and white spiders, and just and I'm worried about like getting bit by a brown recluse. I've seen what it can do to people. I've seen what black widows can do to people. I've been bit, and I had an uncle that was bit by a black widow once, and it affects everyone differently. He basically had what seemed like, I guess the best way to put it was like the flu, like a serious flu for 6 months straight from a black widow bite. That's how bad it messed him up. And I saw all that, firsthand. So like I'm just really, really wary of that. And so I spray all this, bug stop around my house that's supposed to create this like invisible border, I guess, so to speak, that they're not supposed to want to cross. Yeah, they still cross it. So, so even with buying the premium bug stop and bug spray, I'm and still seeing spiders, tons of spiders come in and stuff, because of where I live out in the desert, that I'm looking for more alternative methods like these plants and stuff. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing some of these. And
I'll be right back.
yes, sir. So let's see. The next one I got here is next. Let's see. I'll wait for Tony to come back for that one. How about? Let's see here. Well, we were kind of talking about him earlier. So Eric Swalwell, the guy who wants to, nuke Americans with, nukes. So he has come out with this plan for handguns once AR-15s are confiscated. So this guy is not holding back any punches. He is 100% dedicated to banning AR-15s, handguns, semi-automatic guns. He wants all your guns. And he's just not talking about, you know, restricting the 10-round magazines or restricting this. I mean, he has literally said that he wants AR-15s confiscated. In those words, he wants AR-15s confiscated from you. He wants them taken from you. And he's on a goal to implement this. I mean, this is a guy who's, you know, granted, I believe his polling numbers were less than 1% for president right now. So I'm not really too worried about him being a president. But I mean, this is a guy who is a career politician, and he wants to take our guns. So after he gets his, you know, money for trying to run for president and his 5 minutes of fame up there on the stage, I'm worried about other public offices that this guy might eventually run under, and you know, and or what other states he might affect. So we really need to just get this guy out of the political field, and the way to do that's just by making sure that we ensure that he does not get elected to any public office whatsoever. What do you feel about the Eric Swalwell guy, Tony? Well, I guess Tony's not back. David?
Right? It doesn't matter if you live in the United States. Eric Swalwell is absolutely not your friend.
Eric
So
Swalwell
I'm gonna.
is an example that people who run for office have sufficient mental deficiencies.
Are we talking about lifelong politicians here?
No politician.
So I'm going to read you a little quote from one of his recent interviews here. So it says you. So this is the interviewer named Coop or Cup. I'm just going to call him Cup. So Cup says, "You are the only candidate who is calling for a confiscation of guns. You say you want to ban and buy back every single assault weapon in America. You've touted Australia as a model of how gun confiscation works," she added. "Gun control advocates often say no one is coming to take your guns away. But you say, yes, I am. And that is refreshingly honest." Swalwell contrasted himself with the rest of the Democrat field, saying, "Other candidates have called for a assault weapons ban, but they only want to ban future manufacturing and future sales. And I think if you recognize that an assault weapon shouldn't be made anymore in America, why don't you just get to the point where you say, those that are here shouldn't be here? That's where I'm at." Cup pointed out that assault weapons are involved in less than 5% of gun murders in America. She then asked Swalwell why he is stopping at assault weapons and not confiscating handguns, which account for the vast majority of gun deaths. Swalwell made it clear he also has a plan for handguns, but he is focused on getting rid of the assault weapons first. So this guy is coming for all your guns, and he wants them confiscated. He doesn't want to come to a middle ground. He doesn't want anything. He wants your guns.
SC Cup is she's a female. She works for CNN or MSNBC, and she is an absolute deep stater, if that's the way you want to say it. She's totally pro-socialist government completely. She's basically like a female version of Bill Maher. And she's asking them questions, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, cool, somebody's actually asking a follow-up question. Only reason that she's asking him a follow-up question is to make him look stupid. She's got an agenda that the establishment Democrats have told her to run with, and part of that agenda is make Eric Swalwell look stupid.
Not a difficult task.
John, you
Howdy.
did.
I'm back.
So
Come on.
What do you think about this guy, Tony? How do we handle someone who admits that he's coming for our guns and he doesn't want compromise? He's coming to confiscate them, in his own words.
We hold him up as a shining example of the left.
What do you mean by that?
At the end of the day, that's what the extreme left wants. They want everybody to be disarmed, and probably not quite so extreme. I mean, there's probably middle ground, and even Republicans that would like to see the whole country disarmed.
You would think the Democrats know when they put their faces in one another that they would see the light and realize how really conspiracy and lunatic they look like. But they don't see that. Some of them are blind to it, and they will go to the max with what they want to say is their agenda. And it's like, I don't know how they think they're ever going to win, at least not with the sane majority.
Well, I'll tell you, if you look on your TV and you see a shitload of people walking around wearing a pussy hat on their head, you start maybe believing in the alternate reality.
Yep. No arguments there.
So this guy's a House representative in California right now. So he's already holding an office. He's already admitted coming for our guns. He wants to come. How we have to get this guy voted out, right? That's what we have to do. We have to, I mean, this guy isn't going to stop at the House, right? I mean, some of the future predictions I've seen saying that he's eventually going to run for California governor. He's using this presidential campaign to bolster his image to run for California governor against the other anti-gun guy, Newsom, right? So, because Newsom's not anti-gun enough for him. So,
well, Newsom is running the country into the ground, and I hope the Californians see it with them approving the most current recent bill of giving free and full benefits to illegals. I hope the people in California can see that he's really running them into the ground. That it won't be even a deficit. You can't even call it a deficit anymore at some point, and they'll just be in the negative.
You're exactly right.
I don't get why the people can't figure out, where the hell is this money going to come from?
The trees, the sky, the sewers.
Taxpayers' friggin' pocket.
Eventually, even taxpayers run out of money.
I know it. That's
I don't care how rich you are.
That's the one inevitable downfall to socialism. Eventually, you're going to run out of people's money to take.
That's right. And then the bread lines start.
So, moving on to maybe our last subject of the day, depending on how long I have a feeling this one's going to go a little longer. So, Jon Stewart, old host, I believe a show was called The Daily Show, wasn't that what it was called, The Daily Show?
I believe so, yes.
So, and he's been on a lot of other things, everything from a couple movies to a lot of guest appearances on TV and TV shows to having his own late night talk show. We kind of saw him disappear after Trump, and I think it was David who made this point that you thought he disappeared, basically kind of almost off the face of the earth, so to speak, because he wasn't as far left as what the left wanted him to be.
Yeah, that's totally, because if I watched this show all the time, and before Trump got elected, he was like, yeah, this is going to be great. Trump is a president, comedy gold. And he was always leftist, but he was a fair enough leftist that I could respect. And when it was Trump inauguration and going to be the president, he all of a sudden bailed out of his show and put Trevor Noah, somebody no one's ever even heard of, behind the desk. And that to me says, That to me says that they wanted him to go way further left than he was willing to go. Because even though Jon Stewart is a leftist, he is at least reasonable.
Trevor Noah is like that comedian's first time on stage and they bomb. But Trevor Noah, his every time he's on is his first time. It's a bomb. He's not funny. He's just a political hack. He's a Muppet.
Now, I don't know if you guys watched the interview, or not interview, but him there in front of Congress with the first responders of 9/11, and what he said to Congress. It's about a 9-minute video. I did
Yeah, he
post it
told
on
them
the.
off.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
yes, he did.
He told them off as like, why is Congress taking so long to approve and take care of the people who suffered in the rescue and recovery of that operation? And he was really passionate about it, which was nice to see.
Oh yes, he was. I mean,
Christ, we don't take care of our returning soldiers like we should. Why would they expect anything different?
Well, I'm glad he's got the chance to speak up.
so here's a quote from that I'm going to read. Behind me, a filled room of 9/11 first responders, and in front of me, a nearly empty Congress. Sick and dying, they brought themselves down here to speak. To no one. Shameful. And I really, no matter what your feelings are on this guy, no matter what you think about his politics, no matter what you think about his comedy, I highly, highly advise you to watch that 9 minutes of him testifying before Congress and just tearing them a new asshole up and down, left, right, and center, and doing it with such passion and conviction. Yesterday, Jon Stewart was my hero.
But
And
that goes to show you how little the government gives a shit about the people.
oh yeah, yesterday this guy was my hero. So no matter what your feelings are on this guy, I wish everyone had as much passion and conviction testifying before Congress and felt a similar way about our government and things that they are doing as this guy. So I really highly advise you, if you just type in Jon Stewart 9/11 or Jon Stewart Congress, the first 50 videos that pull up will all be that 9 minutes in front of Congress. I highly, highly advise everyone to please go watch that. And I mean, it's something I think everyone should watch. It was really sad, actually. It really hit home on just how on a lot of the flaws in our government and just how little our government thinks and cares, not only of just us ordinary citizens, but let alone heroes that have basically lost their, in Jon Stewart's words, lost their most valuable commodity, which is time.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
That's not his first time standing up for him either. This has been something he's been doing for a while now.
Oh, he's very, very passionate. If you watch, I highly advise you to watch it. Don't listen to it. That's why I'm not going to play it on the show today. I want you to actually go watch it. I want you to look into his eyes when he's talking to Congress and watch the type of passion and conviction this guy has for these heroes. I mean, yesterday Jon Stewart was my hero. Like, that's the only way I can put it.
As left as Jon Stewart is, he's never been the wacky left that exists today.
No, definitely not.
He's always been, for the most part, a sensible leftist.
Gosh, imagine there used to be a time where that was kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, long time ago in a land far, far away.
No, not really. There was never a sensible leftist. Jon Stewart was kind of like an outsider.
Well, I say leftist.
I might agree with that. Yeah.
I say leftist in replacement of the word liberal because there's barely to no actual old school liberals that even exist anymore with the way the left portrays themselves. That's why I use the word leftist. And I don't want to use the word liberal because some people might insinuate some negative things, and I know how some people who are old school liberal would get offended at that. So I just say leftist.
Well, while you're on YouTube, when you get done looking at that, I suggest everybody look up Five Finger Death Punch video, Wrong Side of Heaven.
Yep.
And
Awesome song. Awesome video.
read the stats that goes through that video.
So I'm taking it that the music video has some statistics in it that are relevant to 9/11 or 9/11 survivors or the first
9/11.
responders.
This is
The military.
Oh, okay.
Military, yeah.
I have not seen that video, so I'm pretty sure I've heard the song, but I have not seen the video.
You know what? The first time I heard it, I had to listen to it a second time, and the second time it actually made me fucking cry.
Me too.
It gave me tears.
It also made me very, very angry.
Yes, that too.
Let's see here. So we have. I got something from our good friend, a good Gun Channels friend, American Victory over on Instagram. He posted a Japanese pilot scratched a poem on the fuselage of his airplane that survived, and I have a translation here, and it says, "Through my life." Or no, though my life may end over the South Pacific Ocean, my thoughts turn to the many springs gone by and those yet to come. So, we miss you, Raphael. You guys remember Raphael?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him around Gun Channels in a while. I think he's been real busy working, but we're definitely keeping in touch with each other, and I saw him posted that. He went to an airplane museum over there on his Instagrams and posted some really, really neat airplanes. And
Well,
a real neat
busy,
experience.
outside of being busy, he's okay though, right?
Yeah. It sounds like
Okay.
he's okay and everything. And we, you can find him over there on gunstreamer.com. I believe at it's Dollar Store Catnip. So over there on Gunstreamer. So, but definitely go follow Raphael. His Instagram's American Victory. Giving him a little shout out. He does some really good pictures over there. Longtime Gun Channels member. Always welcome in these chats. So I just wanted to give him a little shout out to kind of. I don't know about you guys, but the 9/11 thing can be very, very emotional for a lot of us. And but I'm just super stoked about Raphael. Hoping that he's able to make a return here when things get less busy for him.
No, thank God things are busy though. Hopefully it's a good busy.
Yes, definitely. So Pinterest, or am I saying that right? Pinterest? Pinterest. So you guys use Pinterest?
No.
Nope.
What is
They make
Pinterest?
every time I try to look at it to see if there's something I'd be interested in buying because I see an ad posted somewhere, I try to go see what those things are, but then it makes you log in to see anything. So I was just like, nah, close window.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I've had that happen to me a couple of times, so I've just closed that window out and went and found what I was looking for somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's basically kind of like is it like an Instagram where people just post pics and video?
No. People actually sell stuff on Pinterest. It's stuff
Okay.
that they're like homemade or handmade stuff, or I guess whatever they could sell. But you have to be registered on the website to look at anything. It's not like you look at one or two items, then they ask you to register. The second you get on it to look at an item, register, or you can't do anything.
Oh, okay. So that's why they want you to. So I guess they're on a permanent banning phase right now. They're cleansing, and
I don't know what it is. But I'm not gonna register for a site to look at
No.
something if I don't know if it's something that I'd be interested in.
No, and I'm just going to throw it out right now that it's probably just something that you definitely want to stay away from. They're anti-gun, and they're, I guess, using the excuse of health and public safety. Immediate and detrimental effects on a pinner's health and public safety is what they're claiming, and they're just going around banning pro-gun people, or I guess pro-gun companies that are selling stuff on there. I'm not sure if it's just accessories or what the deal is. I don't have a lot of information other than that they are kind of, I guess, YouTubing over on Pinterest and discriminating against 2A and pro-gun people over there. So it's probably
Most
something
likely.
you just want to stay away from. I'm glad I'm not involved in that or have a stake in that. So it really doesn't affect me, but I got sent this, so I just thought I'd throw that out there that they're going all anti-2A over there. So that's probably a thing that you just might want to stay away from if you're not active over there. And if you are, you might want to be careful.
Do you
Well,
think?
I stay away from it because I'm not registered for a site if I don't know what the hell you have on it. But number two, I feel sorry for the people who actually legitimately have some kind of skill in their handcrafting. You're keeping people away from them having sales because you want to judge people based on their personal likes. And to say that, oh, this person's buying something for a handgun, that's all they care about, we don't need those people, you're actually affecting the people who are trying to sell the stuff on the website. So it really doesn't make sense, other than the fact that they're very hateful towards certain groups of people.
Do you think that the Remington lawsuit might have anything to do with this sort of thing?
I honestly have no idea. All I know is that it seems like they've been going on a permanent banning spree and banning a bunch of people over there for pro 2A and gun stuff. So I'm not sure all what it's about. I'm not invested in this platform whatsoever, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I had one of my followers send it to me and thought that it would be good information to get out there to people who might be using it, or maybe people who don't use it but might think about it in the future. But they're definitely, I guess, not gun friendly over there. I always wondered what it was, honestly. So I'm glad John finally explained it to me. I thought it was like every time I go to it and that thing pulls up where you can't look at anything, I just see a bunch of pictures. So, of
There
something
is a
similar what I was searching for, right? So I just thought it was kind of like an Instagram for pictures or something. Like a bit
there
like
is a family. There is a family online. They're like a prepping family, and their kids. One of the girls, she sews stuff like needlework, art, and stitching and stuff like that, and she puts her stuff on Pinterest. So if you want to buy something for your wife, like a koozie or something that maybe she made, you can't even take a look at what she made or what she's selling or have the opportunity to buy it because Pinterest is racist towards this certain sect of people. So now she loses a sale. You have to find another way or another location to buy what you want to buy for your loved one, and it really doesn't make sense. It's bad business sense. That's what it is to me. Bad business sense.
I hope it bites them in the ass, and I hope they lose a lot of money, and I hope they go, oh man, maybe we made a mistake, right? So
If
they
that's the
definitely
right
don't
thing, and
deserve
that's
our
what
business.
right. If that's the right thing, and that's what needs to happen to them, then that's what'll happen. It is what it is.
Chances are it's being pushed from
Google and God knows what
corporate
other companies.
and their insurance.
Yeah.
That Pinterest would be an example of the background check loophole, perhaps. If you can connect with somebody and purchase a firearm from them privately, then technically you buy the gun over the internet.
I don't think people were selling. No, people were not selling guns over on Pinterest, but just handgun parts, like the grips, sights, stuff like that. And
Yeah, that's what
they
I
were.
think it was. Because like when I would search for, like grips or something or sights or something, sometimes I would be in the search results, and then you'd click on it, and it would show a whole bunch of pictures of grips in the background, but a big pop-up would pop up being like, oh, you got to, sign up and do all this before you can even look at what's on this site, right?
Right.
And so that's why I was like, nah, this is like, nah, I'm not about this. Like, these people are just gonna. I figured they were just gonna like spam my email with a bunch of useless nonsense or
They
something.
probably would. They probably still would spam your email box. But like David had a pair of grips that were not done well, so he was willing to give them away. I mean, they still look nice. The Punisher grips, right? Was that David or was that you?
Oh no, I think that was E Honda.
E
Yeah,
Honda.
that
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
me.
E Honda. I apologize. So he wanted to give those away. So those are things that people on Pinterest would go on. Excuse me. Oh, someone wanted that.
Oh, we lost John there for a moment. So now so those are the main talking points that I have for today. So what do you guys have?
The Floyd case in Illinois is going to the Illinois Supreme Court as soon as they get around to it.
No date yet?
No,
Is there an estimated time approximately? Are we talking like weeks, months, days? What are we talking?
probably the fall session. So months.
Okay. How can we how can us people outside the state help with that? Who do we email? Who do we need to call? Whose office? What do we got to do? Or can you, or when it does come in, will you be able to maybe after it comes in, you'll be able to help provide that information to us?
Yeah, there's no fixed information on anything about that yet. The Illinois State Rifle Association is the one that contacted me over it, but I wouldn't suggest anybody donate them bastards anything because they're worse than the NRA about knuckling under the shit.
There's a guy on YouTube. I don't know. I think he does Gunstreamer too, but I just know him from YouTube. His name's Pex or Pex 2A America. That's PECK apostrophe S, the number 2, the letter A, America. And he's from Illinois, and he's always putting out videos on Illinois gun laws and stuff. And he could probably have some information for anybody who's interested in joining some type of campaign to stop the nonsense up there. And he did say that there was a pretty famous local gun store that's going to be closing and moving to another county because of some other regulations and laws that are going on in there. So, yeah, Illinois, Dead Horse brought it up the other day. We all need to band together. Just because I don't live in Illinois doesn't mean Illinois shouldn't be important to me. So definitely do whatever you can to contact these people and lend a helping hand.
Yeah, the article I read didn't really have any contact information short of the state version of the NRA. And it basically was just notifying that the Supreme Court said that they would take up the case. So we'll just have to wait and see on when.
Can you spell that for me one more time, David?
It's PECK apostrophe S, PEX, the number 2, the letter A, America, PEX 2A America.
Awesome. I found him. I'm going to throw his link out there in the side chat, and I also subscribe to him. I was not subscribed to this guy.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's real mellow, real laid back, easy, calm voice. But he knows a lot of stuff, and he's super duper pro 2A. He's on top of the laws and legislation. So he focuses mainly on Illinois right now because that's where he lives, and there's so much nonsense going on up there. But if you have any questions or comments or anything, or you want to help out some of his projects, I'm sure he'd be willing to share information with anybody.
I threw a link to his channel out there in the chat. Really appreciate that. Let's see here. We have So what else you got, David, Tony, John? Any other 2A gun stuff? What else do you guys want to talk about? Anything you want to talk about today? Open floor.
Oh hell.
Anybody want to talk about the removing lead from ammunition? Or did you guys cover that already?
Is this on a state level thing, or is this a new federal?
I'm pretty sure it's a California thing right now. I just kind of caught glimpses of it the other day. But apparently, some regulation, they want to take and get rid of all lead ammunition. So just stop lead ammunition right off the top.
What are they going to do with the lead beneath their feet that's in the ground and water naturally?
Well, I mean that's one of the arguments that can be made, but we were kind of talked about it a little bit last night on Night Strike show, Hit or Miss Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. The lead that comes out of your gun is quite a bit different than the lead that they dig right out of the ground. You know, the stuff that's natural because it's been refined and it doesn't seep quite as bad. And I know in Maryland, if you get caught shooting into a water, any kind of body of water, you're going to get in super big trouble because, you know, the Watershed Acts and all that kind of stuff. So mainly it's an environmental thing to go after guns. You know, no different than saying, hey, you can't put your gun range here because this butterfly comes here once every 25 years.
Those people using to make an argument about the lead don't actually know about the process about how lead breaks down. So David is actually right. They're using that argument to take your guns.
I know I like lead, and lead shoots really, really good. And I like to shoot lead, and it's very, very cheap and easy to make. And for the type of shooting that I do, for one of the types of shooting I do, it's what we prefer to use because when you're trying to knock a pin off of a table, something that deforms and mushrooms and dumps its energy into a bowling pin, lead just works way, way better than Full Metal Jacket and a lot of the other various types of, munitions that I've seen used. Lead's really the dominant. I would definitely say the dominant majority in our sport of what people use is just some hard cast lead projectiles.
Well, if you can't use lead, then I guess you'll have to substitute gold.
Well, that's exactly the point. Is the deviousness behind it all is just what Tony and Dead Horse were talking about. Lead is cheap, lead is available, and lead works. So let's get rid of everything that makes it convenient and affordable, and let's make it so you can't even afford to ammo. All of it's leaning toward making, since they can't just ban ammo outright yet, and they can't ban guns outright yet, they want to make it so expensive that you can't afford it, i.e. the NFA and fully automatics.
And it's unfortunate the courts have succumbed to public opinion rather than the legality of things. That even the courts refuse to take up any of a lot of the cases that have come up in the last 3-4 years, and they're proving they're kind of useless as well. Because you either have the courts that are on the left and they show you how biased they are. They're not judging and voting based on law. They're judging based on feelings. So even the courts really are useless, and they really, honestly, in my opinion, we really need to start rethinking the court system here and possibly getting rid of a lot of them.
We don't need to rethink it. We just need to put it back the way it was intended to be.
That would be nice. But if we can't do that, then they just need to go. No more lifelong appointments or any of that stuff. You don't want to hear cases? Fine, you got 6 months. Not 3, 4, 5, 6 years not hearing any cases. What are you there for? What do the American people need you for? If you're not going to hear the cases that are coming in front of you, then okay, you're fired. Have a nice day. Here's your benefits. Go retire. Go die in a nice plot, and have a nice day.
So I found something that David was kind of referring to about it's just another way, like an evil plot for them to, ban guns. So I typed in, I was curious, like how many people die of lead poisoning every year, right? One of the first articles that pops up is from Medical News Today. It says over 400,000 U.S. deaths per year caused by lead exposure. This is from Medical News Today. This was published Tuesday, March 2018. So it's a year old, a little over a year old. But do you guys believe, yes or no, that over 400,000 American citizens die every year just on lead poisoning?
I
Do you
call
think
BS.
that is a true statement or false?
I call BS.
I think it's BS too, because I think they're using not purely lead poisoning. I think if somebody has lead in the system and they had cancer, then tie that in.
What
I
do you
agree
think,
with
dude?
I agree with Tony completely. Go ahead,
There's
Tony.
a huge issue with lead paint in old
So-
houses. Because for some reason, people can't teach their kids not to eat freaking paint.
So
Natural selection.
So apparently, when you dig deeper, so you guys are partly right and you're partly wrong. So when you actually read this and you dig into it a little bit, so this isn't coming from the CDC or anything like that. It's not coming from doctors. It's not coming from an actual, actual numbers and actual names behind these deaths. This is coming from a study of 14,289 adults. So they studied 14,289 adults that lived during the 1980s and 1990s, which had we had different regulations back then, and there was more lead allowed and everything from like paint. Like I remember thing with stuff coming in from China and lead paint on children's
Correct.
toys, and children would
Correct.
put toys in their mouth. So, but things like that. So there was definitely different regulations in the 80s and 90s. But these people all lived through this time period. They studied these 14,000 people, and based on the results out of these 14,000 people, they estimate 400,000 U.S. deaths per year are caused by lead. Now, this
Like
isn't
I
what the
said,
title
I
of the
call
article
BS.
says. It doesn't say, the title of the article does not say, we estimate 400,000 U.S. deaths a year. You got to go all the way down to the bottom of the article to find out that's an estimate. The headline is over 400,000 U.S. deaths per year caused by lead exposure. So there is definitely some misleading conspiracy, or just there's definitely something going on there when they're wording it like that, and then when you actually read the article and scroll down, you find out that it's all based. Those numbers are based on an estimate of a study of 14,000 people that all lived in the 80s and 90s when we had vastly different lead regulations.
Back in those days, you could still buy leaded gasoline.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. That was a real thing.
So if those people were alive in the early 70s, everybody was running leaded gasoline. They didn't have
The lead was a lubricant, was it for engines, right?
an anti-knock.
Yep.
They pulled the same thing with the Puerto Rican hurricane when they said, 30,000 people died or 3,000 people died due to the hurricane. That was a total estimate. And they went back and they counted people who had diseases and that were going to die anyway, but ended up dying during the time of that hurricane. So that's why they were able to go on the press and say, look, Donald Trump let 3,000 Puerto Ricans die. And that's not even remotely close to what happened. And it was, once again, like you said, it was based on fraudulent estimates.
Yep.
And you talk, like I said, you talk about a misleading article, a headline grabbing article, and that's something that shouldn't even be allowed. Like, that's not journalism. That shouldn't even be allowed to be put up online when it's just that blatantly false and just,
The thing
that's
is,
just sad.
we're in a headline culture these days. So that's all people, most of the people are going to see.
I don't put it past people who have agendas, not one bit. That's why people have to be smarter to know, like Tony said, you got to read past what you see.
I have an agenda. I think that anybody who wants to violate our citizens, our constitutionally protected rights, should be
Yep.
convicted of treason and dealt with in the way the law prescribes.
Yep. I'm not arguing with you.
You want to change the Constitution? Fine. There is a method for doing that.
But until then, you're being treasonous. Totally agree with you.
See, that's another thing that makes America the greatest place that's ever existed on the face of the earth. We've got founding documents that were well thought out and well reasoned and voted on. And they can be changed, but they can't be changed frivolously. That's why I tell people all the time, the federal stuff is important. You've got to watch what's going on in Washington. But the reality is, federal law is hard to change. It's very hard to change. State laws come and go, i.e., the red flag law. You know, red flag laws are burning through the country like crazy, state by state, but it's having a hard time getting through the federal government. Just like anything else, you want to put a stop sign out in front of your house and you go to Washington to do it, 30 years from now you might get a stop sign, but if you want your state or local government to do it, you could probably have it done in a year.
Or just live in a really big, busy city where people are getting run over every other 5 minutes.
Oh, hell, I don't care about that. That's just more statistics.
So I can't understand. And people will never, these people that want to fight against it will never get it, or their agenda truly is to destroy it. But this country was built on a foundation that which makes this country great by a set of rules and laws and principles. And the people who abide by that and the sense of decency towards one another can appreciate it. But those people who just don't care, they, in my opinion, they're just evil.
Well, it's really comes back to those in power wanting to stay in power.
That's what the noose was for treasons. The noose is a very effective tool. But if we're not going to use it, people are not going to learn the lessons.
Well, unfortunately, if you read the statutes on treason, what they're doing is not treason. There's a very narrow definition of treason. I'm not going to quote it because I don't remember it for certain, but you know, to you and I, it's treason because you're going against the Constitution.
Correct.
So I don't know. You know, I wish it were possible because things would change dramatically in what's going on.
Yeah. I wish also.
You know, you only got to hang about 10 of them bastards before the rest of them get the idea.
I'm okay with that. I'll even donate the nooses.
Feinstein to walk out on her next podium appearance with the AR slung over her back. I'm pro-gun.
Yeah, she'll probably croak by then anyway.
I actually meant Pelosi.
Sorry to hear that.
I don't know. One freaking psycho liberal is just as bad as the next.
Yep. Sure.
I know people find it kind of hard to believe, but here in my little section of Illinois, I don't run into anti-gun people. I don't think
That's
I've
good.
ever ran into an anti-gun person here where I live.
That's good.
I've met
You're
some
lucky.
that were pretty lukewarm to it. They didn't care one way or the other, but I haven't run across anybody that's been anti-gun. Considering I'm from one of the top anti-gun states, and we're at 65 counties now, plus a couple of municipalities and townships and whatnot that are gun sanctuaries, and one that will refuse to prosecute.
Well, and I look at that like as a victory for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that is definitely a victory from where you guys have been to getting to that point. Those are every one of those is victories, and we shouldn't stop there. I mean, imagine if we could enact a real change in some major cities and states like Illinois and California. If we, I'm assuming a lot of other states would follow suit. A lot of the other anti-gun states that are pushing anti-gun legislation, because I think they're going to see statistics change. They're going to see crime drop. They're going to see, actual numbers. And gosh, it's tax revenue. I mean, like, gosh, they're selling a product in that state. The states are going to make more money when they're able to sell said product. So it's really a win-win for everyone if we can help enact change in these states.
You want to know the most surprising recent state to start this sanctuary county thing? Would have been one of the last on my list, probably the bottom 8 or 10 anyway, and that would be Tennessee. I would have never thought anybody would need a sanctuary county in Tennessee.
Well, even Maryland, Maryland's pretty known and well made fun of for being a communist state. And I own that, it is. But a couple of things happened, and one kind of went backwards. One, they did pass and say that they could arm Baltimore City schools, as in the resource officers and the police officers that are there could be armed. So that passed, and then it got shot down somehow. I kind of got lost in how it got taken back. So I don't really know 100% about that one. But the 3D printed gun was voted down. So instead of making that illegal, that passed through Maryland, or however you want to say it. It didn't become illegal in Maryland. Sorry, my thought process is off right now. Universal background checks, meaning no more private sales without a background check, did not pass in Maryland. And then there was one other thing, expanding the roster, the handgun roster, to be a lot more restrictive, didn't pass. I'm going to go into the minutia about it all, but basically they were going to make it even more impossible to get new firearms here and get them approved to be in Maryland. But all three of those failed in the last election assembly. You know what I'm talking about, when the House was all together and stuff like that.
Well, most of this stuff went down here too. I mean, there was like 100 things that they put up as soon as they got in office here. And I think everything that wasn't already done, I mean, Pritzker came into office with some stuff sitting on the desk waiting for him to sign it. And I think that shit passed, which was that state license for gun shops on top of the FFL. And there's red flag law, I think, was passed before he even took office. I think the slimy ass Rounder did that. But, there was so much ridiculous shit that just didn't go nowhere. I'm trying to think of the big one we was worried about. Oh, the expansion of the prices of the Ford and stuff. That, I think that got pushed away because of this lawsuit. Because it does them a little good to pass a law and then have the court say the whole damn thing's unconstitutional. My
So,
biggest
oh,
fear
go ahead,
here-
Tony.
My biggest fear here is that they will strip the what the hell do they call it? Cities can't make laws that trump state law. I can't think of the term now.
It's called the Supremacy Clause.
Nah, that ain't the
Oh
term.
no, that's where the Constitution's the law of the land. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Hmm. I don't know. I'm not one of these politicians that use them fancy words, Tony.
Whatever. Anyway, that I'm afraid of happening here. Because then all your little towns could ban guns if they wanted to, or ban this or that. Say, well, yeah, you got a carry permit, but you can't carry it here.
That's the whole point of trying to repeal the Second Amendment, because repealing the Second Amendment won't make guns federally illegal. It'll just make self-defense not federally protected. And then every state, Maryland, can just go outright ban guns, ban switchblades, ban nunchucks, ban steel-toed boots.
God, steel-toed boots.
Home rule charters is what you're talking about, right?
Nope, that ain't it.
No.
Hey, real quick side note. Do any of you guys know how to get a hold of Savage? I've got a A22 shock, semi-automatic long rifle, and the magazine is broken in it. And I want to see if they can give me a tip on how to fix it or replace it or what. But every time I go to the website and I dial one of the numbers, it says it's not an active number.
So I've called Savage and dealt with their customer service. I do know that they have a phone number, but I know that they have a very specific number for customer support or customer service, and then they have one for technical support if you're having issues. So you probably want the customer service number, right? So I'll just email that to you right now.
Cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That's what we're supposed to do, is sit here and help each other. And this one should be golden. Let's see here. So what about you, John? Did you have anything that you want to talk about? Any 2A gun stuff? Any news stories that we might have missed? Anything going on in New York? Is there anything coming up in New York?
Something's always going on in New York. They want to ban oxygen, and they want to tax air, and they want to, I don't know. I got into a point where I'm not even trying to listen anymore because everything they come up with is so anti-constitutional, anti-freedom, anti-life. I usually wait for other people to bring it up now. I'm just.
But you haven't heard of any specific
out
legislation?
out there. Just everybody should be aware and vigilant of what's going on in their states, and try to do what you can to make your politicians and your representatives aware of how you feel in a polite and respectful manner. And we know what we're dealing with, and just don't get upset because we do know what we're dealing with. Know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And sometimes it can, it's disheartening to face these facts, but we gotta face them. G Webs made the point to me the other night that it's that it's a fight, the fight that we need to look forward to, a fight that we need to be excited for.
Because it's there whether we like it or not.
Yeah, because it's here whether we like it or not. So I think I made the comment that it was a shame that we had to fight for these rights, and that's one of the examples of turning around someone's idea in less than 5 minutes. He made a couple blanket statements to me, and in less than 5 minutes, I thought like, oh, you know what, you are right about that. We shouldn't be looking at it like it's a shame that we have to fight this fight. So that was on the Daily Gun Show every night, midnight Eastern. 830, was it 38 episodes or something?
36, 37, 38, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting high, almost 1,000 episodes. Like pretty soon it's going to surpass The Simpsons.
What was their total?
Oh, I have no idea. I think they hold the record though, whatever it is. I think they might hold the record.
They're on like 32 seasons.
Wow.
But the one thing that you have to, because I'm a huge Simpsons fan, the one thing that you do have to give them a little bit of a negative point on is it's a cartoon. So characters don't get older or die or move or get better jobs. But 32 plus seasons is still seriously impressive.
Hey. Preemption. That's the law I was looking for, the word.
Aha! One of them fancy lawyer words.
I thought that was like a Simpsons reference. I was sitting here going, what's that mean? What does that mean? Did I miss that episode?
I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to think of the freaking word preemption.
All I feel like saying is, ha ha.
Well, I'll be able to function throughout the rest of my day and not be bothered by it anyway.
Well, thank God for small miracles.
And Google.
And Google. I'll not thank God so much for them, but.
So we're a little bit over the top of the second hour here. So I think we're going to start to wrap it up. We'll give our shout outs, and then the daily lobby will be posted over on Gun Channels. Feel free to hop into that. Links will be posted on Gun Channels. Everyone is welcome. PG-13 lobby. And we've had some really, really great lobby chats. I don't know if anyone listened to John Brown yesterday in the lobby chat while I was out being selfish and just out shooting. John Brown took it upon himself to jump into the lobby chat and start discussing ammunition and different cartridges and guns, and just, I mean, very, very good info. Just a really good talk. Really enjoyed listening to it. I know you got a lot of response on it. A lot of other people really like that too. And sometimes that's what it takes in the lobby is get in, read a story, talk about something, and someone hears you talking, and then you jump in, and now there's two people in there, and that's how it starts, and that's how we get these great lobbies with these packed houses and great conversations going. Is it's got to start with someone, and I really, really appreciate John Brown's efforts out there that he put into the lobby yesterday. So I definitely want to throw that out there. I already threw out the Daily Gun Show every night, midnight Eastern, Monday through Friday. Early watch Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Or 9 a.m. Eastern. And what about, we'll start on the left there. What about you, David? Got any shout outs?
Yeah, I want to echo. I gave him a shout out yesterday on Night Strike show, but I want to echo what you said about John Brown. I hung out in the lobby as long as I could, and then my phone just went bad on me and work got worky. But John Brown did a really great job just holding down the fort. So I thought that was really cool. Definitely check out gunchannels.com and go check out guntube.org. Like G-Webs always says, if you got a couple bucks, buy Night Strike a cup of coffee. Buy G-Webs a cup of coffee. Buy Tony or John Z or Dead Horse. If somebody's doing a project that you appreciate, throw him a little support.
Now I don't know. I mean, I don't think me and Tony we have this big early watch money coming in right now, so I think me and him are pretty good. So I think we could safely say to direct that money over to gunchannels.com and GunTube, and I will. I'll add to that with the Night Strike. He does have some patches over there, some GunTube patches over there for sale and stuff, and then definitely go check out GunTube. And John Z. Any shout outs? Anything coming up on the John Z project?
Nothing at the moment. Just some personal things going on in my life, but no videos as far as that goes. I'm working on things. They're taking slower than I would like, but I'm working on them. And just go to Gun Channels, register. It's free. Catch a whole slew of creators, all sorts of content, lobbies going on all day. Some awesome chats going on, interviews. If you haven't caught it already, Liberty Dolls interview with Gun Websites with G happened a day or two ago. Go catch that if you haven't yet on the replay. Yeah, just try to support everybody, give them a thumbs up, and that's it for now. Just and also be aware of what's going on, and forward that news to either one of the early watches. If you're not an early watch, or if there is no early watch in your state, contact Dead Horse or Tony, and they can set you up with an early watch username, and go from there.
Most definitely. The Liberty Doll chat was on Monday with G Webs. It's posted over there on gunchannels.com. Absolutely a wonderful interview. Very insightful. Really looking forward to seeing what other projects and seeing what she's going to do into the future. Awesome lady. Really looking forward to that. Thank you, John, very much for being here today.
Thank you for the invite.
Tony.
On Liberty Doll, she's got a lot of content.
Yes, she does.
I think she's great, to be honest. Shout outs. Rick's Life as I See It, Shooting with Disabilities, should be on tonight at, I don't know. I honest to God can't think of when. I think it's
7 Eastern, 8 Central.
6 Central. 6 Central.
6 Central. 7.
Well, me and Rick's old, man. We can't stay up that damn late. And as far as the coffee money to us early watch guys, we're covered. If you want to buy coffee for somebody else in our name, that's fine. But I have never taken money for this.
No, never. And we would definitely like you to send that money to someone like Gun Channels or GunTube or the Second Amendment Foundation or the Firearms Policy Coalition or another content creator out there that's fighting the good fight. You got to put I think we got to, direct the money where it's the most useful. And, right now I definitely don't need the money to be doing these shows.
Right.
So it's not, we're definitely not in it to become millionaires and, or to become famous. It's definitely just about spreading these messages and organizing and collaborating and being an actual community, lifting each other up and helping each other out.
If you can't decide who, I would suggest either G-Webs or Night Strike because they're both trying to support a server. And that
Yes,
takes
sure they are.
Absolutely.
or both.
With that note, I will. Oh, did you have something else, John?
The 2A fund is Tony the Toolman's project, right?
Artist and Tony?
Artist and Tony, yeah.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
Artist and Tony, he's the one who sends around the crickets every year for everyone to sign.
And
for a lot of the YouTubers to sign, and he's been doing that for years now.
And also the little monthly bonus, where he picks and chooses who to send a little stipend to help them keep them afloat for the month. So you can go ahead and support him, and he'll pass those funds on to people as well, which is a pretty awesome thing.
Thank you guys. I want to thank you guys all for being here today. Without you, this could not happen. I definitely could not do this by myself. It definitely makes it easier with a great bunch of guys in here to help me out with this. So thank you very, very much. And I want to leave everyone with a quote today. Today we need citizens who are not only prepared to take arms, but citizens who regard the preservation of freedom as the basic purpose of their daily life, and who are willing to consciously work and sacrifice for that freedom. JFK. Thank you all.
Good day.
Good day, everybody.